Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm PPE and this is the Peso Pro episodes where we talk about personal finance tips and money management tricks. If you haven't done so yet, I hope you hit on the subscribe button and the notification bell. In a previous video, I actually shared with you the result of me trying to think about my 20s and what were the 5 money mistakes that I did. We'll link to that in the card here that you can look at after watching this video. Today, however, we're gonna talk about the 5 wins that I did in my 20s that has helped me reach where I am today. I am nowhere near financial independence yet, but I personally challenged myself to reach that stage within 45 to 50 years old. I want to make that goal very, very clear to me because that gives me the drive to actually be very deliberate and very driven and disciplined in my savings and investment habits. Some of the things I did in my 20s were very helpful to get me where I am today, and they've also developed habits with me that I carry up until this day that I think will help me reach that goal. I'm sharing this with you if you're fresh out of college or if you're in your 20s. I hope that you learn from my own wins and that you can apply them to yourself. If you're a bit older, that's also fine. If you still think that there's wins you haven't applied in your life, now is the best time to put them into practice. So let's talk about the first one. The first win that I had in my 20s was being able to save very diligently. And I was able to do this because not that I was a finance geek or a personal finance advocate or that I loved reading books about finance. I actually did it because I made a certain choice very early on that helped me automate my savings and investments. What do I mean by this? I was able to take advantage of not losing into a very, very big bias that we have as people, which is the loss aversion bias. The loss aversion bias, easily explained, is us not wanting to lose anything that we currently have. Take for example, when you received a gift of say 5,000 pesos. You did not have this money before. You did not expect that money to come because you didn't know how much you were gonna get. However, when you had the 5,000 pesos, you are now instinctively trying to protect that 5,000 from being spent on anything else that you don't want. If all of a sudden your mom or your dad ask you to give them 50% of that 5,000 pesos, I'm pretty sure you would not be happy because now you feel that now you have this money with you. The same thing happens to us every time we receive our paycheck or our commission or whatever form of income that we get. Every time we take the money in, there's a feeling of this is now mine, so anything that goes out from this is gonna cause hurt or it's gonna cause pain in our internal mindset or in our internal psyche. That makes savings, even if we know that we're actually saving for the future, protecting ourselves from emergencies or whatnot, regardless of how logical those things can be, and that even sometimes, even if we know that saving is a good thing, we don't do it because we feel that we are losing something because we're not able to enjoy the fruits of our labor, which is our paycheck. One very effective way that I was able to win my 20s with is that I set savings as an automatic thing that happens every payroll cycle. In my company, we have a monthly payroll cycle. So what I did was I took advantage of 2 things. One is I took advantage of our company cooperative or a savings and loan associations corporation. This group can help you coordinate with HR to actually have a payroll deduction for your savings so that you automatically take that away even before it hits your bank account. This way, the loss aversion bias is not activated because that money is gone even before you've seen the money in your bank account. Take for example what you pay for the SSS. The SSS or the Pag-ibig or PhilHealth deductions are all things that are actually deducted from you, but since either you don't have a choice to do it or you don't see it first in your bank account and then you paying for it physically, it's much easier to just accept the fact that you're paying these things. So add savings into that and make sure that it's automated helps you get across this bias. The other thing that I was able to also master or get the advantage for me is to set up recurring transfers from my payroll account to another bank account in the same branch. In the Philippines, we have limited ways to actually set up auto transfers in other banks. So what I did is, since my main bank is BPI, I actually had my payroll account send a specific amount of money into a separate bank account so that every month during the payroll cycle or maybe one day after the payroll cycle, that amount automatically takes from the payroll account into the savings account. In that way, I don't have to manually trigger it every month. It just happens, and me just keeping track and transferring it back is a bit more of a task. So in most cases, I just leave it there, which makes me effectively save for that month. These are two things that you can do also, especially if you don't have automatic transfer set up. The second win that I was able to do was having very clear goals from the start. And any friend of mine will tell you that I actually keep a spreadsheet of a set of goals that I want to achieve at certain milestones in my life. And what I did was I created these spreadsheets to be across certain age target milestones. So what I did was I had a spreadsheet that talks about what are the things that I need to challenge myself to take during that time. For example, at 30 years old or in 40 years old, and so on. Having these goals very, very clearly set out at the start helps you understand the reason why you're doing it. In most cases, it has helped me because they serve as my anchor points, especially if I'm thinking about splurging or not investing for the sake of a temporary trip. I think what I was able to do was I set up myself for success because I had a clear vision of what 30 years old looked like, what 40 years old looked like. This can be very simple to do. You can probably ask yourself two very important questions of, number one, what's the most important for you? And why are you doing savings and investing? In a lot of cases, this is family, personal aspirations, or personal milestones that you want to hit. The second one is making sure that along the process, you have smaller milestones to hit. For example, in my 20 to 30 year time frame, what I was able to understand is that I needed to achieve as a target for myself to start paying for a house. I knew that to be able to get there, you have to figure out the down payment for the house, and so that served as one of the reasons why I actually aggressively saved during the first few years of my working life. Having goals and having very clear milestones help you keep on track, and just make sure that you make those milestones a bit flexible so that you have some enjoyment and some splurge episodes in the different years so that you also don't overly drain yourself. I have seen people who have overdone this versus performed in this case. A lot of people will not have goals, but there are also some people who have a lot more goals and very stretching goals that they sometimes forget to put in a little bit of fun and a little bit of temporary celebrations that you have in those milestones so that you also don't get burnt out in the process of achieving your bigger life goal. The third win that I had, I think, in my 20s was being able to invest in real estate. And this happened in two ways. I was able to buy a vacant lot in my hometown because I knew of a person who was working in the development and it was offered to me. I then figured that this area would probably be the next buzz part of the city, and chances are prices would really escalate over the next 5 to 10 years because the city has been moving towards the east. I then bought a vacant lot with really no plans on how to use it, but then that lot has since doubled or almost tripled its value as of last check. This is a good investment for me because it was very, very cheap upfront, and I was able to take advantage of a market that's growing while people were not yet aggressively investing. Right now, if you were to find a similar property with a similar price range, it would be very, very hard for you to get one. The other win that I was able to accomplish during my 20s was buying a primary house at the age of 24. And I was able to buy this by really just planning for it, saving for the down payment aggressively, and being able to connect and network with a good set of real estate agents, one of which, the real estate agent for this property, has been a very close friend of mine, and we still keep in contact even after so many years after the sale. I think a good real estate agent is a very, very good thing to have because that person can really help you navigate through starting and even during and after the sale, because a lot of these, when you buy real property, they tend to be long-term investments that you will hold for the majority of your life. By doing so, I was able to take advantage of the low price because it was a repossessed property that I was able to purchase, and now the value of that property has been doubled in the last 5 years because of the real estate boom in the Philippines. These were two of the best investments that I made, and I think I learned it because I was able to get insight into real estate very earlier on from friends and even some real estate agents who were sharing their knowledge with me. And so the tip here is, if you're not sure where to start, a good way for you to be able to know a bit of the industry is to actually find someone you can trust who works well in the same industry, or find experts that you can learn from. In most cases, the biggest gap between you finding the good investment is just figuring out the knowledge so that you're comfortable to jump into the investment rather than fearing what's on the other side and not taking the jump at all. The fourth win in my 20s is being able to save up fully for my dream wedding. Me and my wife were in a relationship for 8 years, and I know a lot of people struggle with this goal because this also coincides with the first few years of your journey in employment or in adulthood. While you were still struggling with maybe some debts that were carried over forward, or you not still earning your prime salary because you are still in your 20s, this can be a bit of a bind. What has helped us when we were preparing for the wedding was we had a clear vision on what we wanted, and we both agreed to discuss money up front so that it doesn't become a source of contention. The other thing is that when we were talking about money, we knew that if we wanted a certain wedding detail done this way, that it entailed cost. So 2 tips that I can share with you on this specific win is, number 1, consult with people who have done it before. If you have friends who have done it maybe recently in the past 1 or 2 years, get their Excel spreadsheet because I bet you they have one. I have not known any couple who has planned a wedding without an Excel spreadsheet with multiple suppliers and their own cost comparisons. There may be a very good template that you can already look at, and you would have very, very reliable sources of estimates because they've actually been through the stress of going to different suppliers. That way, you can already incorporate very, very good estimates into your own estimates. The second tip that I can give you in this topic is for you to set a budget cap together. I know it's very, very hard to stick to a budget. There's always a lot of surprise items that come here and there. But when you both talk about what your cap is, it makes it easier because then you know the amount of money that you have to raise. The second step in this would be to look at that budget cap and make sure that you check if it's feasible for you to actually save that enough amount of money to reach that budget cap. If it's too unrealistic, then I strongly suggest that you both take a hard conversation and decide on things that you will prioritize. If you are able to find ways to reach that amount, take a second step of just thinking through if you're really willing to spend this much amount on your wedding. Again, at the end of the day, be it small or big, it's up to your decision. The only thing I would really caution against is that you take debt to be able to fund your wedding, because starting any marriage with a big amount of debt because you overspent on something that happens for a day is probably not the best way to start one. And when you are able to plan for the wedding itself, then it's much better feeling that you end the wedding day happy and that you don't have any obligations to anyone, and gifts can be sort of a top up rather than you hoping that the gifts would actually pay for the wedding itself. The last money win that I had in my 20s was being able to start side hustles and side incomes. While I still have my 9 to 5 job, which still is my largest earning component, I was able to learn a few things that I can do on the side, be it a small one-time business or a side job that you can start in your free time, or offering services to people and earning money from it. By doing all of this, you actually expand your network and also learn from other people who see things in a different way, especially entrepreneurs and people who are making their way through businesses of their own. In this way, I was able to maximize the things that I can learn from those side hustles, and also this reinforces the fact that I really learned earlier on that I needed to find alternate and additional sources of income for me to turbocharge my way to financial independence. So for all of you who have one job and one source of income stream, I urge you to challenge yourselves for 2021 to figure out one thing that you can do, be it a simple buy and sell of something that is needed in your office that you can make a profit on. It can be a side job online like tutoring kids English or even being a virtual assistant on a part-time basis. All of these things can help you not only earn a bit more, but also will help you see things in a different light. And sometimes be able to teach you lessons that you can also apply into your main job, and that may actually be the source of competitive advantage versus your other peers. I'm sharing these wins in my 20s so that it helps you learn from the experiences that I had. I am far from perfect in planning my own personal finance, but I try to be 1% better every day. Whether you're new to the workforce and figuring out adulting, or if you've been in the workforce for so many years but still struggling, I hope you found value in this video. We've created 2 more videos that will talk about mistakes I did in my 20s and also the 8 pro steps towards financial independence that you can use as sort of a roadmap or checklist for you to assess where you are in your financial independence journey. So go ahead and click on these links. They offer immense value, and please hit like, subscribe, and the notification bell so that you're notified when the next video is up.